Welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, inflation only increases the need for financial education, but first, the May 17th primary election is just about upon us. It's all about the elections. Back after these words.
Welcome to the fast-paced and unrehearsed weekly discussion featuring the leaders who help shape your world. Join us as we address the issues that impact you each and every day. This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Welcome back. Well, I'll tell you something. We have some important elections, particularly if you have to remember this. Tom Wolf is term limited. He's not seeking re-election. We have a United States Senator who is also decided he will not seek another term. To discuss those elections, we have Charlie Thompson. He's with the Harrisburg Patriot News and PennLive, and Tom Lehman. He's the Capitol reporter for WGAL. I think I got that right, Tom. All right. Well, let's start with the governor's election. It seems like every other day there are debates over who attends these debates. So give us a quick update.
We had a debate earlier this week. It didn't include the top four candidates, though, which I think a lot of people thought was interesting. But you did see these candidates who are still trying to get a little bit of traction before the primary. We're really less than a month out at this point. It's going to be something important to see, I think, especially as we get a little bit closer, whether or not anybody makes that jump to that higher tier, perhaps, or whether or not the other candidates who are toward the top, your Doug Mastriano, your Lou Barletta, whether we see any big differences there. But again, that debate earlier this week, you didn't see any of the top candidates there. Yeah.
Well, Charlie, maybe there are just so many of them, you can't expect them. And also, if you're a leader, if you're at the head of the pack and there are two or three who are up there, and the candidates who were at the debate last week were all in single digits. I'm not being critical. I'm just stating it factually. They need the traction, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In other words, in that debate, sort of the second tier debate that Tom referred to kind of set up that way because the top tier candidates have kind of made this agreement among themselves that they would only participate in a primary debate that was moderated by a registered Republican. And a lot of these debates are, of course, put on by media organizations with reporters. With reporters, yeah, who are not necessarily of the party. And so that's why we didn't see McSwain and Barletta and Doug Mastriano. Doug Mastriano has really picked his spots as far as public news media appearances throughout the campaign. Mm-hmm. He's kind of been almost snubbing the mainstream media and just saying, I'm going to hold my own rallies and do it my own way, because he has sort of a cult-like following.
Good point.
But anyway, I'm not sure about, there's another debate next week. Soon. Yeah, we're kind of in this final stretch now where we're going to see a series of debates in both races. And I believe that McSwain and Barletta at least are going to be in one of the debates next week.
Sure. Now, the fact of the matter is that the Trump factor is very important because of the large percentage of Republicans who want Donald J. Trump to run for re-election. I'll put it that way, re-election 2 years from now. And Mastriano, because he supported Trump's efforts, widespread corruption, to have the election thrown out and to have it redone. And so that's a huge factor in this contest as well.
Yeah, I think the former president definitely looms large. Last week we saw his non-endorsement of Bill McSwain, which I think a lot of people were perhaps surprised by. But what we also saw that was interesting was Jake Corman in the race, the Senate President pro tem, on a day when he filed to try and get off the ballot. I think a lot of people were expecting a suspension of campaign announcement. That didn't happen. And he cited a conversation with the former president who told him to keep fighting.
Yeah, well, Trump was angry at McSwain, who U.S. attorney, he's an appointed U.S. attorney in Philadelphia, who did not agree that there was fraud in the election, right, Charlie?
Right, right.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, McSwain kind of, McSwain was one of many U.S. attorneys in the days of the Trump administration that Trump felt did, kind of
Sure.
let him down or did not follow up on, allegations of vote fraud and that sort of thing. But,
right.
In the U.S. Attorney's defense, I mean, what we heard from Attorney General Bill Barr was that all the claims were investigated and there was nothing really there to make a case out of.
All right, we talk about the Democratic primary for governor, except there's only one candidate, Josh Shapiro. We're going to run to a break. When we come back, we actually are going to have a primary for the United States Senate on May 17th.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania State Education Association, bringing the power of a great education to our schools, our students, and our communities. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Please visit pahighwayinfo.org. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
All right, the U.S. Senate primary, both parties have multiple candidates in the field. Charlie Thompson, take it.
All right. Well, this is the race to succeed Pat Toomey, and it may be one of a handful of seats that actually determines control of the U.S. Senate for the next 2 years. Mm-hmm. And we have two open primaries, multiple candidate primaries, as you said. On the Democratic side, our rock star Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman is leading in the polls right now over yesterday's Democratic Party darling, right? U.S. Rep. Connor Lamb, who was everybody's favorite when he took down a Trump-like Republican in southwestern Pennsylvania in 2018 in a special election, and then knocked off an incumbent Republican congressman later that year. Lamb has a lot of establishment Democratic Party support and has some money in the bank. So I expect a pretty hotly contested fight to the finish in that primary. Malcolm Kenyatta is also in there, but he does not seem to be getting a lot of traction in the early polling and, kind of lags in fundraising. But, he's an exciting voice for the progressive, younger Democratic voter. And, I don't know necessarily if he necessarily takes votes from Lamb or Fetterman more, but he's a third factor in that race. On the Republican side, it's even more jumbled. Where Fetterman has maintained a kind of a solid lead in the polling, and it almost feels like it's his race to lose now. On the Republican side,
it's ugly.
I wouldn't bet my house on a winner because you've got David McCormick and Mehmet Oz, the Trump and Dorsey, better maybe known to the viewers as Dr. Oz of daytime television fame. And then, and that's just
bitter.
Behind them,
bitter.
Yeah, and just behind them, three other, pretty high-quality candidates, and Kathy Barnett, a conservative commentator from Montgomery County who ran for Congress 2 years ago, has a very commanding stage presence whenever you see her, seems to wow the crowds. Jeffrey Bartos, who was the Republicans' lieutenant governor nominee in 2018, and he is a very smart, competent, capable guy who could hit the ground running. And then finally, we have, I'm blanking on the fifth candidate, but
so are the voters.
Carlos Sands, I'm sorry.
The former actress.
And the former ambassador to Denmark in the Trump administration, who's also got some capability to self-fund.
I'll tell you, before I let you go, that primary is brutal. The commercials are beyond ugly.
Yeah, I mean, there's some commercials that you watch them and you really see them and you feel like, wow, you know, this is a pretty ugly fight, especially between Dave McCormick and Mehmet Oz. And I think, you know, a lot of voters are noticing it. I see it on social media all the time. People are talking about the ads. Yeah. I guess the question is whether that's going to translate.
The fundamental issue they're both trying to hit each other with is that, well, you're not. Each candidate is trying to wrap themselves in an American first agenda. And,
conservative agenda.
And each candidate is trying to point the other one as, you know, a fake conservative, and that, look, you're really not a true believer.
Yeah.
But, you know, the funny thing at the end of the day is I'm curious to see. I mean, it's almost like mutual assured destruction, right? I'm not sure anybody gets the edge in that because they're making the same
arguments. You're right.
And at the end of the day, I mean, Donald Trump was susceptible to the same kind of arguments, right?
Yeah.
Because he had kind of had a metamorphosis as a conservative during the course of his dalliances with politics. So I don't know. I'm not sure that.
All right.
You know, I'm not sure that either candidate is really getting an edge for all the money that.
Quickly, 20 seconds. Go ahead.
Well, all I was going to say is that it's interesting because both ads, they keep saying, hey, the other guy is
not a real conservative.
Not a real conservative. And it's like if you put it down to a binary choice, they both can't be wrong, I guess, or can't be right.
All right, coming up, we're going to talk about the need for financial education after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by
CrossState Credit Union Association. Credit unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, go to ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Association of Pennsylvania State College and University Faculties, representing the faculty and coaches who are devoted to providing quality public higher education for Pennsylvania's college students.
All right, well, inflation only increases the need for financial education. We're going to chat about that and some other subjects related to financial education. Joining me to do that is Patrick Conway. He's the president and CEO of CrossState Credit Union Association. And Tim DeFoor, he is this state's Auditor General. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Auditor General, let's start with you. The need for financial education.
Well, we're all consumers, and it's important to understand where our money is going, how to use it, and also how to spend it. So one of the things that we're trying to reach out to students and adults in the Commonwealth is understanding your money. Where does it go? Understanding taxes, understanding what it's like to save for a pension, understanding what it's like to have credit, and understanding what it's like to save for an emergency.
Right.
So, and especially some of the things that are going on today, it's we're just trying to bring awareness to financial literacy because it's extremely important.
All right, Patrick. Yes, wages are going up, but inflation is higher, correct?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
And everybody is aware of that, painfully aware, right, Tim? I think it's crazy. I mean, inflation hit a 40-year high in March. Everything is more expensive. It's hitting the household budget, really primarily driven by gas prices. But really everything across the board, groceries, food, all kinds of consumer products are up. And so there's really never a better time than now for, families and households to develop a budget, and talk amongst themselves and really put together a plan. We're coming out of a global pandemic. Inflation's at a 40-year high. There's a war in Ukraine. There's a lot of things going on in the global economy that really makes financial education and planning more important now, I think, than ever.
And you've talked about price shopping, and maybe you put off making the big expenditures right now until all this straightens out a bit.
Absolutely. Look at prices, shop. If you can delay a big purchase, Just look at car prices today, you know, both new and used cars.
Right.
We're buying a used car for my daughter who's in college so she can use it when she comes back this summer. And prices are just through the roof. But if you can delay those purchases and see if prices come down as things start to moderate, mitigate, that would be a smart thing to do.
Yep. Be money smart.
Yes, Be Money Smart. That is our financial literacy awareness program that we started back in November. And we started it to bring awareness primarily for kids from K through 12 to understand what is financial literacy. If you look at some of the surveys that have been done recently, and surveys of adults and surveys of educators, a lot of them are saying that, there is, without a doubt, a need for financial literacy. Because what we're doing today, the children that are in school, ultimately, they're going to graduate from school, they're going to go to college, or they may start a career, or they may go into the military. So the awareness program is to talk to them and to make them aware of financial literacy, some of the things that I mentioned earlier. What you like to say for savings, to understanding credit. Ultimately, hopefully they want to buy a house or they want to buy a car. So by doing this and by partnering with groups like CrossState, it's our way to educate and to make them aware of financial literacy and what to do with your personal finances.
Yeah. Well, look, let's run to a break, and we come back. Let's talk about what, help that there are organizations, and as you accurately point out, credit unions that, can provide assistance to people in dealing with money management, particularly in this inflationary period, but perhaps in general. We'll do that after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Inspired physicians committed to the good health of Pennsylvanians and the advancement of the practice of medicine.
All right, we clearly understand that we have a problem with money management and financial education. I want to start with you, Patrick. Credit unions, other financial institutions provide assistance to consumers. Why don't you lay out what some of them are?
Sure. Thank you, Terry. Financial institutions, give back in the communities. Credit unions in particular follow the people helping people philosophy.
Right.
And so credit unions and community banks, other institutions are really the trusted financial partner for consumers. And oftentimes consumers don't realize that they can go to their credit union or their financial institution. They can get the assistance that they need. They can get some help. Counseling credit unions, for example, in Pennsylvania alone are in 285 school districts with 55 in-school branches. So they have a presence with young adults in high schools throughout the Commonwealth.
So then you're coming in and meeting directly with students and providing them with the important information that they need.
Exactly. And they're getting their hands, involved with financial institutions in these in-school branches. But beyond that, they're also counseling these young adults and families as well through webinars, members of credit unions coming into the lobbies and meeting with the financial advisors that credit unions have. There's a lot of proactive work being done to help people with financial literacy, how to develop a budget, how to save, how to manage debt, how to make those big purchases that we talked about earlier. So there are resources available to consumers, and we encourage people to talk to their credit unions or their trusted financial partners.
Sure. All right, Mr. Auditor General, what's the relationship that your department, your organization has with financial institutions like credit unions?
Well, one of the things, when we started off the Be Money Smart financial literacy campaign, we realized that this had to be a public-private partnership, and that it was the banks, the credit unions, who had the tools in order to make the programs work. So one of the first things that we did is we reached out to them. And said that we wanted to partner with it. But also, as I was crisscrossing the state, I was also talking about the different programs that the banks and the credit unions have. So we wanted to bring awareness of some of the things that are already out there, some of the programs that are already out there, and a lot of them with credit unions. We wanted to make others aware, and that these type of programs are right in your own neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a good point. Go ahead. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to thank the Auditor General. You know, he and his team have been able to bring enhanced visibility to the importance of financial literacy and financial education. And credit unions and financial institutions around the state have been involved in these activities for a long time. But it's important to try to get our consumers' attention. Yeah. And I think what Tim and his team have done has really been helpful. And I know that our association representing credit unions has really enjoyed the partnership. You know, as I said earlier, I don't think there's ever been a more important time to embrace financial education. With inflation and everything going on in the global economy. Yeah. So these kind of partnerships, I think, can be really good for families and small businesses. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I even remember when I was in 4th or 5th grade, when a local bank, Dolphin Deposit, would give each 5th grader $15. And every couple of weeks, they would give us like another $5. And so in one column, we had how much money that they would give us, and also we also can contribute money that we got from home from our parents from doing our chores or whatever. But so in one column we had how much we put into the bank account. In the other column we had what the interest was, and we had to calculate the interest. And that's something that I never, and that was of course a very long time ago. Yeah. That's something that I never forgot, and something that I still think about today. And it's nice that we can partner with others to bring something like that.
You know what I like about this is that I've spent most of my career with students, given what I've done for a living. And what I like about this is the fact that, as the Auditor General points out, you're starting this at a young age, and you're dealing with things like fee waiver, you know, what you actually can do that provides assistance.
Absolutely, and it's never too early to start. And as the Auditor General said, you know, going back to your grade school years, what a great program that is. You know, our credit unions are doing financial reality fairs in schools today. And it's a game, it's a fun way for kids to come in. They spin a wheel, they get a salary, and they've got to allocate a certain amount of their budget for housing. They've got to get a cell phone, they've got to get a car. All that fits in with the salary and their budget. And it's a really fun way, interactive way, to help teach young adults and kids about the importance of financial planning.
Yeah, and I would think that the students would enjoy that.
It's a lot of fun, and you know, the volunteers really have fun with it too. The folks that come in from financial institutions and state government and other places to really man the booths and help the kids learn. It's a fun experience.
Well, we're out of time, but I want to thank both of you for coming in. These are really important subjects that we're talking about. All right, we'll see you next week for another edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, you stay well.